Good morning, everyone. My name is Kate Stamford, and I'm going to be chairing the Electoral Area Services Committee meeting today on Thursday, June 19th. I'd like to welcome everybody and acknowledge that we are on the territory of the Squamish and Sechelt nations. I've got an agenda in front of me. Is there any additions or changes? Seeing none, I'd like to adopt the agenda as presented. Have a motion, seconder. All those in favor? And that passes. I'd like also a motion to accept all reports and communications from the report. Have a mover, seconder. All those in favor? And that passes. Thank you very much. So our first agenda item today is a delegation from the Remembering Youth Student Delegation. So handing it over to you and welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us here today. It is a real delight and a privilege to be with you all. We are here as a delegation on behalf of an initiative in community engaged learning and leadership that took place over the course of the last several months on the Sunshine Coast. My name is Natalie. I had the opportunity to serve as the facilitator in youth engagement for this project, and I'm joined today by three incredible young people who will shortly introduce themselves and are here to share their reflections on their experiences in the project. In this project where we were exploring place-engaged learning and contributions to the official community plan renewal process, we defined place as stories that lay on the land. And looking to the words of Thomas King, the Greek and Cherokee author, he writes, "The truth about stories is that's all we are." When I think about this project, there are so many stories that lay on top of it, and there are an immense number of gratitudes to offer in terms of the people who brought their stories forward in this process. And we'd like to acknowledge in particular Cam Discampo and Talisi Tours, the teachers who trusted us with the students through this work, and of course the 190 students who so actively participated in sharing their ideas through the process. We'll do a quick project overview, we'll hear from the students, and then we'll share some conclusions. Research demonstrates so clearly that social connection, sense of belonging, and community engagement are critical protective factors in the health and well-being of young people. Physical health, emotional health, mental health. This is no surprise, these are protective factors for all of us, and yet they impact young people in particular ways. When we saw that there was an opportunity to bring together different organizations in the community to do this work in new collaborative ways, we were guided by three questions. What would happen if youth were involved in the planning process? How could participation benefit youth and their sense of belonging to this place? And how could youth participation benefit the community planning process and resulting community policies? As you will see in the staff report, which we are so grateful to the time and energy staff have invested in preparing that report, the findings, the ideas, the hopes, are all contained within that report. But today in this delegation, what we wanted to do was share with you some reflections from the students around their experience. And so I asked them what matters most to you about the Remembering Youth project. What did you learn about youth engagement on the Sunshine Coast? What is your hope for the future of youth engagement on the Sunshine Coast? And what do you hope is possible? So with that, I will turn it over to my esteemed colleagues from Elphinstone Secondary School to share their ideas.
Hi, I'm Phoenix. I live in Area E of Elphinstone. After Natalie and her team came into our classroom a few times, they brought us out to Porpoise Bay for like a final trip, and they told us some pretty fascinating history while we were there, how there was longhouses, and from the beach you were able to see like a dozen villages, how many thousands of people used to live in the area, and it made it all feel like such a more grand experience. Walking around the place, it felt more alive after, like I was more connected to it, really like feel the history of it, and I know that it's like a provincial park, but I feel like the same kind of thing could apply. If you're able to go into a park and there was signage there telling like the stories of the place, people would form like a more meaningful connection there, and as well as like learn more about their community. Sorry. Imagine you went to like your favorite park and you're able to read the history about that park, what it used to be used as, why that changed, and like why it is today. Even if the park doesn't have historical value, if there is any information about any sort of coast history, whether it be pre or post colonization, it is extremely important to know about where you live. That could also double for the tourism side of the coast. Imagine you went to a fresh, new, beautiful place and they had their history everywhere. Ancient stories to people stories to even how a certain place was developed, similar to Sergeant Bay's boardwalk signs. It would make everywhere a much more indulging experience for everyone.
Hello, my name is Lucia. I live in Roberts Creek, Area D. Working with Natalie really gave me a better understanding of how our local government works. She taught us a lot about the SCRD and like what they actually, like what you guys can actually do. I got to learn about the Indigenous people's connection to the land around me, which was really amazing, and it made me feel more connected to my community and the land that I live on. I think it would be really great if we could continue this. I think this was an amazing like outreach project that we got to take part in. But I think it would be really amazing if we could continue this kind of work and allow young people to take a more active role in their communities and the decisions that affect them. An example of this might be like if you guys wanted to like put in a new park and there was 3 different areas that you were thinking about, asking young people like which ones they would visit most, or kind of giving them a hand in making decisions like that, just like really simple stuff, but it really made me feel more connected to my community and the land that I live on.
Hello, my name is Maggie Rose. I am a student at Elphinstone. I am born and raised here on the Sunshine Coast in Port Mellon, Area F. I am very happy to be here helping present this project. I really, it meant a lot being part of this project because it gave way for youth to be able to share our thoughts and opinions and collaborate not only with ourselves and across grades, but also with teachers and outside of school community organizations. I learned from this experience that youth engagement on the Sunshine Coast is a relatively new concept for here on the Sunshine Coast, and that more and more people have been trying to have more youth involved in decision making in this community. We have a long way to go. Sometimes youth engagement, especially if it comes through the school system, can feel forceful or condescending, which is why projects like this one are so vital for real deferential youth engagement. The idea that I had relating to this is having a youth-led advisory council or board on the Sunshine Coast. Having an inclusive youth advisory board where all voices, experiences, and people have the ability to share and find ways to implement their ideas. This, I feel, would be an excellent step in the direction of respectful and valued youth engagement. Instead of just having one typical student leadership voice represent us, we would be able to hear the real stories and ways the community affects us as youth.
So I just want to give gratitude to those folks in sharing their ideas and the many ways that they came forward throughout the project to alongside their peers to share so many different ideas about this place. When I reflect on my experience as facilitator in this project alongside incredible colleagues from here at the SCRD and Vancouver Coastal Health, a few elements stand out as to what mattered. And we start with place matters. It's no surprise, I think we all experience it in different ways. We love to talk about the places we love. And we love them for all different reasons. But that grounding young people in their communities in sense of place and knowing that they belong and matter to this place has a real difference in terms of the future they envision for themselves in these communities. Grounding the work in Indigenous ways of knowing and being was critical in understanding what was and what continues to be possible in this place. The contributions of Talisi Tours that numerous students just spoke to shared stories of this place that perhaps were not known. And when we reflected on the values that these young people wanted to see guiding our community development, they really drew upon the values they learned through their experience with Candace and her team. Sustained engagement became a critical factor, so this wasn't a one-off of coming into a classroom, asking folks for their ideas, and then leaving and them never seeing us again. Thanks to the teachers giving us considerable amounts of time with their students and staff contributing considerable amounts of time as well, we were able to make multiple visits, build relationships over time, and saw the quality of interactions increase as we stayed. In valuing their engagement, I do believe that situating it within a school where folks weren't asked to make contributions outside of their time when perhaps they're busy working, taking care of family, having other commitments as young people in this place, as well as receiving school credit for doing this work as part of their coursework, led to an understanding of its value and it being integrated into young people's learning experiences. It counted. And then I think asking real questions about real challenges and real processes. This isn't an imagine if. This is real about what's going to be the future lived possibility of this place, and the decisions made affect these people very differently than they affect me moving forward. And so valuing their ideas sufficiently to engage in real process became quite important, as well as being accountable to ideas and information and ensuring these young people had access to decision makers to share their ideas. But the piece that stands out is building collaborative capacity to make place, that this brought together groups of people in ways that perhaps they hadn't worked before, and when we approach problem solving in new ways, it creates new ways to solve those problems and creates new solutions to those challenges. And so what I hope is that some of the legacy of this work is new collaborative community capacity. We did this in class, and I invite you all to look at this word too. There are two ways to read it. It can say nowhere, or it can say now here. And I believe the difference in that is sense of place, connection to community, and sense of belonging. These young people all care about their places. We know you all care about these places, and you work very hard to take it from nowhere to now here for us all. And I'm so delighted and really impressed and honored to be able to represent the voices of young folks who shared their ideas in ensuring they are now here. Thank you so much for your time.
Directors, do I have questions or comments to the delegation?
I do, but I don't know how to put my hand.
Just so everyone's clear, we are using new technology, so maybe we need you up here to show us how to use it, because we're struggling a little bit. I'm trying to do it right. I'm not getting anything on here. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah,
where's the
no,
hand up?
nothing's showing. So anyway, we're just going to do it manually. So we're going to start with Area A Director.
I found the presentation very interesting. Well done, you guys. I read the whole report, which was pretty big. Did that yesterday. I do have a question, though. It was suggestion for a youth council, which I think is a great idea. But I need to understand what one would look like. We have a APC, for instance, that advises the area directors, and it's formal. And we also have community associations, which they're not-for-profits with elected chairs and make recommendations and presentations to us as well. Would this council look like one or the other of those things to you?
I think when I was picturing a youth advisory board or council, I was picturing something that was super accessible. Maybe it could look like just a meeting in a place where it could be, people who have been chosen or elected from the school to be representatives on this council, but just something that allows multiple voices to be heard from the school instead of just one leadership sort of.
Do you have a follow-up?
No, I think I understood that. It's very similar to our APC, I would think, where we'd probably have a contact here and one of us would be delegated to attend, and we'd go from there.
So
Bring the
to
message
consider.
back.
Yeah.
And of course, I wanted to mention that, in fact, this is your space to be heard. if you have an issue and you want to bring it to us, come and do it. Put a presentation together, get a hold of our corporate officer. She'll book you in a time, and you can come at any time if you feel really strong about an issue. And I'll tell you, I for one would appreciate hearing from you guys.
Who's next? Do you have?
Thank you, Chair. She allowed me a little more freedom than usual.
Director Mamad, do you have any questions?
I, in fact, have a comment. Next year is a local election year. Pretty sure the election date is October the 19th, 2026. And I'd love to see youth get involved in the election for all kinds of reasons. Among them, that the school board are up for election, and I think that they should have to go to all candidates' meetings at the schools and answer some questions. Also, there's, as you probably know, there's a considerable movement out there to lower the voting age to 16. And I think they should have done that years ago for school board, because I think it would change the election if the, kids in high school got to vote for the school board. And then because it's an opportunity to learn about local government, maybe hold mock elections, hold all candidates meetings, ask questions about issues that matter. So I am just pointing that out and hoping that maybe we could get something together for this coming election.
Thank you. Do I have comments? Director Bax?
Yeah, thank you. I'm very interested in the engagement of the youth. I'm working on creating a mock council here in the fall with members of the youth leadership through the different high schools that we have. I'm trying to engage my fellow directors to act as staff, if we may. But it's also very important that the students feel the roles of the directors and the staff, as this is a place of future leadership for you. But there was I believe a mention in the report about youth delegate for various parts of our organization, perhaps our APC. I wonder if our corporate officer could enlighten me.
Can you direct it through the
I wonder.
chair,
Oh, sorry.
please?
I want to know whether or not there's an age restriction on membership of our APCs.
Staff, would you like to comment on that?
Thank you for the question. No, there's not an age restriction. There would be for actually sitting at the board table making the decisions, but advisory committees just make recommendations. So that is open to youth to actually participate in that decision making. The board would have to approve a terms of reference to provide that authority to a youth advisory panel, should they so wish to do so.
So
Follow up?
yeah. So the idea was not to create an entire, although it's a probably good idea to create an entirely separate youth board, but having a youth representative within our existing APC may be a good idea because of it would be a venue for them to express the views and values of the youth on land use issues that come up, as well as our OPC renewal process. And just for information, we appoint new APCs every year in January.
Thank you. I'll go to Director Gabius.
Yes, thank you, Chair, and through you, but if you don't mind, I will address our wonderful delegation. Thank you so much for being here. I know it's a really busy time, and it's kind of, things are really busy before it winds down, so thank you for taking the time. I know Chadlich students could not be here, but they're here in spirit. I learned so much in just this small delegation. Thank you for all your ideas. The importance of stories to feel connected to the places you go to, the parks. I think that's super good. More signage, love that. And really happy to hear that you are interested in continuing this engagement. I think we need to find ways to reach you. I think it's a bit of a challenge. So any ideas like how to best communicate with you, how to best reach out to you? This was a great kind of pilot program. Lots of work, I'm sure, and continuing engagement is always a lot of work. But the wheels are turning. So really awesome, great ideas, and we need to find ways, I think, to invite you, because to ask, especially youth are so busy with school, and you've got your social lives, but ways for you to feel invited to the table. So whether it's a committee or whether it's kind of more through the schools, reaching out more casually, but really very heartened to hear that you're interested. And my big takeaway from all the engagement, the report that I read, is the focus that you have on the collective. Like, it's very much about all of us. And when I saw things like, support for parents and support for vulnerable people, it was just, wow, that's, like I just really enjoyed reading all the comments and how the focus is not so much on what you don't want, but like what you want for the future and how to improve the place and how to make it better for everybody. So really, thank you. Amazing report. And thank you so much, Mr. for all the work on that. I'm just lots of gratitude. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. You had another comment?
Yeah, just a quick follow-up. I don't think anybody said that APC stands for Advisory Planning Commission. There's one for each electoral area, and since they meet in the evenings, it's not that difficult. We've kicked around before having a youth member at the board, but we meet on a weekday during the day, which makes it pretty difficult. Town of Gibson's has a youth representative, but they meet after school hours. So it's a lot easier for them. And, when each APC has room for up to 11 members, and none of us have 11 members right now. So there's plenty of room out there. Thanks.
I'm just going to add my own questions into here and comments, and also thank you. This is huge, eye-opening for myself to see how you connect with your communities. A couple of questions, and you don't have to come up to the microphone for this, but do any of you see your immediate future as staying on the coast? Do you see that as possible? And is that something you desire? And if not for yourself, do you see that as a common thread in your community, in your classes?
So I plan on moving to Victoria this September, but I would really like to live on the Sunshine Coast later in life or come back here for at least a couple years. So it'd be really great to see these changes, like if I came back and then I saw all these new things that had happened since I left. I think that'd be really great.
Thank you, and as I'm chair, I can follow up. My next question is, given the experiences you've had with this project, have any of you considered the possibility of a future in land planning, either in a staff capacity, professional capacity, or in the political end of this, which is the role the board plays here? There is no wrong answer.
I find that would all be like super interesting, but for the specific classes that we that you guys came to, it was all grade 12 classes where a lot of us already decided what we wanted to do, whether it be like move off or some people stay here. But if this was like brought into a wider age bracket, like grade 11 and 12, then the 11s who are still figuring out what they want to do with their future and they get interested in this, they could then steer their efforts towards that. They're able to put in more effort than we were able to do because we had a lot of us already knew what we wanted to do, and it was just kind of like a final extra thing to do. but with the 11s, they'll be able to focus a lot more time and effort, go through it throughout grade 11 through 12, and meet all the people that they need to meet, make the connections that they need to make to, yeah, stay in a career in like land planning.
Thanks. And do I have a follow-up from Director Gavious?
Not necessarily a follow-up, but since it's so unusual to have youth here, I feel like we need to suck everything we can. I'm just wondering whether a question for Ms. Jerem or the students: were there any surprises? Were there things that really surprised you out of that exercise? Any big learnings, big surprises, or it was pretty you kind of knew what to expect?
I found it kind of gave us a lot more information about things that we wouldn't necessarily know about. Like she would come into the classrooms and have she'd cover, I think there was 5 or 6 that one day that you put just on each section of the wall. And there's little what were those things? Sorry.
The data safari?
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you want me to?
Yeah, for sure.
Really briefly to speak to, thanks to the work of staff here at the SCRD, we conducted a data safari activity with students where we identified key elements in an official community plan that the policies impact, asked core questions about those, and then had students review data that we have currently about those different issues on the Sunshine Coast and respond with their ideas of what might be changed or what could be different about those statistics. Another activity that for me was a really surprising and delightful, we did $60 in 60 minutes. So in groups of 4, students had $60 and 60 minutes to change their community for the better. And that was the only guidance. And so folks headed out and did all manner of things with that $60. And the thoughtfulness that went into that activity really was really impressive, and the ways in which students were seeing interconnections between different community challenges and issues.
Thank you. Is there any further questions or comments from directors? Seeing none, I'd just like to really thank you for the work, and just be assured that this goes into our greater document, but it is now part of the process and it doesn't get forgotten. So congratulations, you've done a great job. Okay, our next item is 4.2, the official community plan renewal project status report, and this is status report number 5, and it begins for the public on page 57, and for us it's 4.2 in our eScribe package. Report, I knew I'd screw up on that somewhere. Okay, we're going to go back to 4.1 because this is staff report. Thank you.
Good morning, and thank you. Thank you in particular to these 3 fine folks sitting behind me and their courage to share this morning. SCRD is very grateful to have received a grant from Vancouver Coastal Health via BC Healthy Communities to collaboratively design and deliver the project that you just heard about this morning. Some colleagues from Vancouver Coastal Health are with us in the room, as you've heard also from others who've been directly involved with the project. We titled this project Remembering Youth. The project sought, as you've already heard, to integrate and engage grade 8 to grade 12 students and their input into land use planning on the Sunshine Coast. Getting a lot of echo. In doing so, we sought to integrate themes of belonging and youth mental health into planning for the future. This was done while delivering collaboratively designed, place-based, and civic learning over the course of the 2024 to 2025 school year. The data we received throughout the course of the project is contained in the report before you this morning. You've heard some student reflections this morning, and we're here to answer any questions you may have about the staff report.
Directors, questions? Director Gabby, yes, I would love to do it electronically, but I can't seem to get it to work, so, yeah.
It's just us. Thank you, Chair. A question to staff, like how will this information be integrated? Like, can you kind of paint a broad picture of how these exercises, these engagement exercises are going to feed into the OCP renewal process?
Staff?
Thank you for the question. We are bringing this engagement report forward in advance or during the first phase of engagement being live, but it is anticipated, as we spoke before, about integrating the first phase of community engagement feedback, which is live right now, together with this feedback, and that being what informs the next step of development on the official community plan renewal project.
Thank you. I have a couple of questions. First of all, with this particular group of students, it's obvious that they didn't get separated out by whether or not, or I should ask, did they get separated out by whether or not they lived in a rural regional area, or if everyone was welcome to participate in this project?
Thank you. A good question. The short answer is no. Everyone was welcome to attend. We were working with teachers who worked with grade 8 to grade 12 students at both Chattaleach and Elphinstone. And so that represents a range of students from all areas.
So as follow-up for that, what sorts of opportunities do we have to share this document to the municipalities as they're also going through OCP processes?
Thank you. That is exactly the intention. We've made our municipal colleagues aware and our nation colleagues aware that we have this project underway and that we would share the results after sharing them first with you.
Thanks. Any other questions or comments about the staff report? Director Bax.
I'd just like to thank staff for engaging the youth. This was one of the stakeholders that I was really eager to see involved in this renewal process. So thank you.
Thanks. So no further questions. This wasn't a decision-making section, so I'd like to move on to 4.2, which is our OCP renewal project status report number 5. And if staff would like to introduce anything new.
Sure, thank you, Chair. The report is for information. It's the official community plan renewal update number 5, and it's for June 2025, and staff are here to answer any questions you may have. Thank you.
I'm still trying to get this to work. Can I just get people to try and click on it? Oh, look, see, speaker 1, Donna McMahon. Great. Director McMahon, would you like to ask a question?
Sure, I would. I know the survey is live, the OCP survey, so will we get some updates on how many responses you're getting to the survey and where they're coming from? Because it would be nice, like if I heard that nobody from Elphinstone had answered the survey, then I would start, shaking the bushes to see if I could get people to participate.
Thank you for the
Manager
question.
Jackson,
Yes,
go
sorry.
ahead.
Thank you for the question, and sorry for the echo on the mic. Staff do have a communications plan in place, and part of that will be unveiling later today, actually, to help guide the board with information and updates that are coming in terms of the community feedback that we're receiving from both the number of updates to the type of themes that we're seeing emerging. Thank you.
Thank you. Director Lee.
I'm busy trying my button. I see it worked. Thank you, Chair. On the OCP project timeline, I think the second date should say 2025 and September 2025 instead of September 2026. I hope. And the other issue is are we going to see a detailed schedule of when presentations are going to be in the various communities so that we can hype it a little bit?
Staff who would like to answer that?
Thank you very much for the question. Short answer is yes, a detailed schedule of community events is being prepared and will be booked in the internal public participation calendar, as well as some external advertising to let folks know what events are happening, when and where.
I'm just going to follow up quickly. Do you know when we'll be able to see that listing? I think that's what we're asking.
Staff can provide you with that list this week.
Thanks very much. I see no other speakers, and I'm just checking to make sure that's accurate. So with this, there was no request for decision. Looking through. So thank you very much, staff, and we'll move on to 4.3, the LCRB Lounge Area Endorsement and Special Event Area Endorsement Application Referral. And that's reference quadruple 7, Foragers Meadery. And that starts on page 62 for the public. And thank you, staff. You can introduce this whenever you're ready.
Thank you. This report presents information on a referral from the BC Liquor and Cannabis Regulation Branch regarding an application for a lounge area endorsement with an outdoor patio component and a special event area endorsement to the existing liquor manufacturer license for Foragers Meadery, now under construction at 801 Leak Road in Roberts Creek. In accordance with the Liquor Control and Licensing Act, the SCRD is asked to consider the location, person capacity, and hours of liquor service of the establishment and provide comments or recommendations on the impact of noise on nearby residents and the general impact on the community if the application is approved. Staff are available to answer questions.
Thank you. Just to start, do we have any questions of clarification from the directors? Director Bax, please go ahead.
So this particular project is, we're being asked whether or not we will endorse a liquor license to sell liquor for consumption on the site. Is that correct?
Staff, would you like to comment on that?
Thank you for the question. The LCRB has issued an approval in principle for the liquor manufacturer license with an on-site store endorsement. And what we are being asked to consider at this time is the addition of a lounge area endorsement with an outdoor patio and special event area endorsement to that pending liquor manufacturer license.
Thank you. I've received a few letters of support and other letters of concern. One of the concerns was noise, and I was wondering if there is a noise level that in decibels that would trigger a noise complaint from the surrounding areas.
Go ahead.
Through the chair. Currently, our noise bylaw does not prescribe a particular decibel level. The measurement of those decibel levels is quite difficult, and it's currently discretionary through bylaw enforcement on the disturbance to the neighbors, so no specific decibel level. Our analysis on this property included the general proximity to adjacent neighbors. This property's generally well isolated from adjacent areas. There's a creek behind it with a large buffer area and roads on all sides of the property. So from a distance perspective and vegetation perspective, the noise is being mitigated that way, but no specific decibel level.
Okay, thank you.
Would you like a follow-up?
Well, follow-up, I have several, a list of questions. There was concern about the road, the condition of the road. I have been in contact with the representative for the Ministry of Transportation, and he assures me that the repair work on Leak, Ranch, and Sullivan are on the work plan for the Ministry of Transport this year. So we'll see if that happens, but they did assure me that they're aware of the condition of the road and that it will be addressed.
Thank you. So no further questions at this point from Director Bax, but we can come back to you. Director McMahon.
Thank you. So the lounge area and the special events area endorsements are separate, I take it? So the LRCB could approve one, both, or neither. And then if one of them was not approved, could the applicants come back at a future time and request this again?
Staff?
That's correct. There are two separate applications to the LCRB, one for the lounge area endorsement with an outdoor patio component and another for a special event area endorsement. So certainly a decision could be made to support one and not the other at this time, but they could certainly apply again in future.
Director Lee.
Getting good at this, putting up the hand. Thank you, Chair. There's a clause in the liquor license that 50% of the product sold has to originate from the land it is on. That's a lot of alcohol made out of fruit trees. Who would actually be in charge of policing that aspect of it? Is that the provincial government? I'm hoping it's not us, is why I'm asking the question.
Staff, would you like to respond?
Certainly. This would fall to the Agricultural Land Commission, who imposed the requirement on ALR properties under 2 hectares to produce at least 50% of the farm product required to produce the alcohol on site. They have installed over 250 trees and honeybee hives and gone through a non-farm use application with the ALC where they've assessed the potential productivity of the land, and they did receive a favorable decision from the ALC. So all things point towards being able to meet that requirement.
Follow-up?
Yes, Chair, I just want to say I think that's great that we're doing stuff like that. Good use of farm property. Thank you.
Thanks. Director Bax, you have further questions?
Yes, I wanted to address some of the concerns that I received via email from some of the surrounding neighbors. And full disclosure, I am within the catchment for, I received a letter so that I could put my own input in. I did not, but there was concerns about parking, and I understand, according to the application, that there's going to be 27 parking spots on site. Also, that normally under this type of application, they would be allowed 150 people on the site during special events, but staff has recommended that be reduced to 120, and I'm in agreement with that. And the hours of operation seem to be quite reasonable. And so I really don't have any other major concerns. I understand that there was questions about how could they be producing from apples so quickly, and I understand that the property owners paid to bring in mature apple trees, and they planted them. And the view from the highway is quite, I love looking at a farm when I drive by that area. And so personally, I think I'm going to have to agree with this endorsement.
So I have one more speaker, and then maybe you'd like to consider some motions or a motion. Director McMahon, you have a follow-up question?
I have a couple. I'm having trouble keeping organized today. The hours, as noted, I assume are maximum hours because most of these operations on the coast are seasonal. So I guess that's the way it's approved. Is that the case?
That's correct. These would be the maximum hours of liquor service, and bearing in mind that the LCRB requires that patrons vacate the facility within 1/2 hour of the end of liquor service hours. But certainly they could choose to open later in the morning and not necessarily right at 9 a.m. This is just a maximum, that's correct.
Thank you. And I just had a comment on page 73. That's a good map, but it's missing one destination, which is the Little Red Wagon Farm, which is right across the road from that property. I could, after that, I have no more questions, but I certainly have comments.
Okay, so that wasn't really something for staff to respond to. But is anybody interested in putting, Kelly or Director Bax, do you have further questions, or would you like to
I'm going to
propose
move
some motions?
the recommendations as they appear in 4.3.
Do I have a seconder? Director Lee? And do I have any comments to the motion? Director McMahon?
Yeah, I'm going to say that I have no difficulty with the lounge, but I have some concerns about special events because I actually do think the overflow parking is liable to be an issue in that area. I know I get the complaints about the overflow parking from Banditry along Pratt Road, and Pratt is a much wider road with a lot more room for parking, although it's not ideal because it ends up blocking the bike lane. But that particular location does worry me, and I know we have an upcoming meeting with the Ministry of Transportation, but I am concerned about that stretch of the highway between. Oh, I've lived here long enough that I describe things by landmarks that aren't there anymore. So the old Penn location and Sunday Cider. There are, as pointed out in the map on page 73, there are a number of destinations popping up where we can expect people to be turning on and off the road. And that's a very busy road. It's got an 80-kilometer speed limit. I patronize the Little Red Wagon Farm, and I have my heart in my mouth when I'm turning in and out of their driveway because of that corner at Conrad, you can have traffic coming in really fast with no adequate sight line. So I think there are some real concerns about events. Like 120 people is still a lot, and despite the parking arrangements, my experience is it's more like 2 people per car. Further, yes, I'm glad they're going to provide bike parking, and I wish all of the facilities would provide better bike parking. But it's a dangerous area for bike parking, and it's dangerous to cross the road to catch the bus. As we all know. And so if we are encouraging people not to drink and drive, but to perhaps drink and try and cross the highway to catch the bus, this may not be the best situation. So unless you want to separate the 2 endorsements from the motion, I'm going to have to vote against.
Director Bax.
Thank you for your insight, Director McMahon, but I do have to, having lived on that corner of Conrad for 15 years now, I understand that is a very dangerous corner, and many bad things have happened there, and I've experienced them firsthand. My son has crossed the road there to to take the school bus to school, and there is a sweet spot where you can see. But outside of that, it's a bit of a nightmare. But the corner of Leek and Highway 101 is not the same. It's you're at the crest of a hill and you can see all the way down to Conrad, and you can see all the way back to the nursery, and so at West Reed Road. And so it's not nearly the nightmare that it is getting in and out of the Red Wagon. Although, and as far as parking on the road is concerned, parking on Leek Road, I hope that there's a mechanism in place for the neighbors to address that through the ministry, through, I don't know how they would complain about this. Would it be, is there any mechanism for neighbors to talk about cars that are parked on the road? I know that the property developers have added above and beyond what was required for parking, and that the special occasions that they're asking for would be outside of farm use. Any special occasions that are farm use, an apple festival or such, are not controlled by local government, and they fall outside of the special occasions permits that they're asking for. That's my understanding.
So is there a question of clarification in that?
I just wanted to say that it's not as dangerous as Director McMahon made it out to be.
Director McMahon.
Well, staff can confirm this with me, but we have no mechanism to deal with parking problems in rural areas. And I've had a lot of them, and I get a lot of complaints. Places like Ocean Beach Esplanade, and there's no, the only recourse we have, to my knowledge, is to call the RCMP, and parking is really low among their priorities. And they are reluctant to tow for a whole lot of reasons that I'm not going to go into right here. But unless I am wrong about that, perhaps staff can check in.
Would staff like to comment?
Through the chair, I can comment in a general sense, and I'll also add a specific comment on this application. Director McMahon is right that there's no direct mechanism for the regional district to enforce on-street parking in the regional district. The provision of roads, the ability for people to park there, is an accommodation that is made on all public roads, of course. The problems come when people are maybe not responsibly parking or using those areas in a way that won't interfere with the normal operation of a road. On this specific application, I know the applicants have been in discussion with the Ministry of Transportation to potentially improve the shoulder on Leek Road once the Leek Road upgrades are underway. I don't have that officially in writing yet, but I can share that there's intention to do that to potentially alleviate on-street parking overflow. There's very little mechanisms in general to force people to park on someone's property. We know in the rural areas that's a level of service that we're all used to, whether it's Maydays in Pender Harbor or Cooper's Green in Half Moon Bay. This is a piece of the puzzle of holding events or lifestyles in rural areas. Staff are aware of that, and that it informs part of our recommendation of reducing the capacity on this property. But it is undoubtedly that once people gather in areas, we do anticipate there will be some instances of overflow parking, and which is why we've also included the recommendations around clear signage being provided to direct people to go onto the property. Thank you.
Thanks. Does that provide some information?
Yes, I think that provides some information. And by the way, I thought staff made some pretty good recommendations there, and I appreciate the recommendation for a secondary emergency access, because that's very important. But again, I'm still a little reluctant.
So I see no further speakers, and if we're ready to call the vote, I'm not seeing anything else. So let's call the vote as presented at 4.3. All those in favor? And opposed? Would you like your opposition recorded? Sure. Yeah, thank you. So moving on, thank you, staff, for that. Our next item is 4.4. This is development variance permit. So I have a little script here that we will speak to after we hear from the staff about this particular application.
Thank you and good morning. So this application is for development variance permit 113 for 3024 Greenway. The purpose of this application is to vary the maximum parcel coverage for all buildings from 15 to 24.2%. The applicant is seeking to build an addition to an existing single unit dwelling in the form of a secondary suite, which has a total floor area of 54.8 square meters. Notifications have been mailed to owners and occupiers of properties within 50-meter radius of the property. Staff have evaluated the proposal based on the board's development variance permit policy criteria and are recommending issuance of the permit at this time. Staff are happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
I'm just going to read the script for DVPs. Having heard staff's introduction of the proposed development variance permit, if there is anyone in the webinar audience or in the boardroom wishing to speak to the application, we ask that you raise your hand. If attending virtually, please use the raised hand tool or *6, and I will unmute you in order for hands to be raised. When you speak, please give your full name and, if you wish, your address for the record. In order to keep our meeting moving, we ask that you keep your comments focused and limit them to 3 minutes. We will proceed with a motion and discussion toward a recommendation from the board. Corporate officer.
Chair, just confirming there are no hands up in the public gallery requesting to speak.
Thank you. So seeing no request to speak from the public, I'd like to move on with the directors, if directors have any questions of clarification to staff. Director Bags.
So I looked over the map of the downtown. There's a density bonus area in the village core of Roberts Creek, and I believe this particular property falls within that density core.
Staff?
Through the chair, I do believe it is within that area. I think it's identified in the OCP as the village amenity density bonus area.
All right, so my understanding is that this is something that's kind of allowed by the OCP.
Is there any other questions from directors? I don't see any. Would anybody be interested in putting a motion on the floor? Director Bax.
I'd like to move the recommendations of 4.4.
And we have a seconder in Director Gabius. Are we ready to call the vote? All those in favor? And that passes. Thank you very much. Our next item is a development variance permit for DVP 00114. It's 8653 Red Roofs Road, Electoral Area B. Starting on page 1112 or 112 for people following along in the package. Director Gabius.
Thank you, Chair. I'm just going to recuse myself from this item. I am in a conflict of interest due to the applicant being my appointed alternate director. So I will see you in a little bit.
Thank you, Director Gabius. Staff, would you like to introduce this application?
Thank you. The purpose of this development variance permit application is to reduce the setback from the natural boundary of the ocean from 15 meters to 6 meters. The intent of the application is to allow for the completion of a partially reconstructed deck on an existing dwelling. Again, notifications were mailed to properties within 50-meter radius of the subject property, with comments received attached as part of attachment D. Staff have also evaluated this proposal based on the board's DVP policy criteria and are again recommending issuance of the permit, and we're available again for questions. Thank you.
Thank you, staff, and I will go through the script again. Having heard staff's introduction of the proposed development variance permit, if there is anyone in the webinar audience or in the boardroom wishing to speak to the application, we ask that you raise your hand. But attending virtually, you can use the raise hand tool or *6, and I will unmute you. When you speak, please give your full name and, if you wish, your address for the record. In order to keep our meeting moving, we ask that you please keep your comments focused and limited to 3 minutes. Once the committee has heard from all those wishing to speak, we will proceed with a motion and discussion towards a recommendation to the board. Is there anyone that would like to speak? And I see a member of the audience that would like to come up. Go ahead.
Communication throughout the entire variance process. Yeah, I would just like to speak.
Can I just get your name?
Sorry, I'm Landon Dix. I'm the applicant and the agent for the owners. The property that we're discussing here is a reconstruction of an existing deck. It was in disrepair and it was unsafe, so the owners wanted to rebuild the deck. The overall footprint is the same size. They weren't trying to go above and beyond. However, the corners were squared off for simplicity of construction. The posts in which the decks sit on are in the same location as the old deck. Simply just trying to continue the generational use that this property has had for their family on this modest deck in their generational home that they're trying to keep looking good and continue the use that means a lot to them. There has been a lot of feedback from that we've received from the comments, all positive. So yeah, I thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. Directors, do I have any comments? Not seeing any. Oh, Director McMahon. Oh, and I'll get yours.
Sorry, trying to find a page number again. No, this is a very straightforward report. It's well laid out, good maps. As somebody who also owns a rotting deck, I can completely sympathize. So I would like to move the recommendations on page 112.
And I have a seconder in Director Lee. So it's now available on the floor, and I have no other speakers. If we're ready to call the vote, all those in favor, and that passes. Thank you. I would like to call Director Gavious back in. If somebody could go and get her. Okay, we're going to take a 5-minute break. Thank you. Services Committee. We are on, oh. Are we back? Oh, okay. Yeah. So our next item is 4.6, frontage waiver for FRW 00026 Twin Creeks Road, and that's on Area F. And staff, would you like to introduce this report?
Thank you, Chair. The purpose of this application is to exempt one lot in a 3-lot subdivision from the minimum 10% frontage requirement on a highway. Staff have evaluated the request based on provincial guidance for frontage waivers and recommend approval. Staff are here to answer any questions. Thank you.
Directors, do I have any questions of clarification for this? I don't see any speakers, so I'm just going to ask the question. I noticed that this particular road access is very narrow. It's like, I think they said 1.8%, so about 10 meters wide. Is that considered acceptable for highways, or is it just not apply to a public road? It's just driveway access. Could I get some clarification on that?
The final lot layout will need to be approved by the Ministry of Transportation and Transit. The access is an existing access that is approximately 10 meters wide. A 10-meter access for a driveway for one property is usually more than enough. It's certainly wider than a lot of panhandles we see.
Director McMahon, do you have a question?
Yeah, just a general interest question. Because of one of the previous reports we had today, there was a requirement from the fire department to have a second emergency access to a property. So when does that come into play? Or is it required, or is it over and above the legal requirements? Like, when would we want to be looking at a second access?
Planner Copes?
Yes. One comment on this property. I do not believe it's in the fire protection district, so the fire department has not commented. That being said, the Ministry of Transportation and Transit has requested that the bridge access to Lot 2 be able to accommodate a fire truck or other emergency vehicle.
Interesting. Director Bax.
Yeah, a question somewhat along the same line as far as access and egress is that, so this is part and parcel of an existing property. Will there be a connection between the access off of, the Port Mellon Highway to this part of the property sometime in the future?
Planner Copes?
Yes, thank you for the question. As far as I know, the proposed Lot 3 would be accessed off of Twin Creeks Road, with the Lot 1 and 2 being accessed off of the Port Mellon Highway, and I do not believe there would be any connection, especially given the creeks on the property, between Lot 2 and Lot 3.
Director McMahon, do you have a follow-up, or is that just empty? Okay. I see no other speakers, and as Area F Director, I'd like to put the vote out as described at the top of 4.6. Do I have a seconder? We have a seconder. I'd just like to make a comment that this particular application has come before the Advisory Planning Commission. It has come up here before, and recognizing that this is a particularly challenging area geographically or geologically, and that I think the proponents have worked really hard to try and manage all the different interests, especially in terms of water flow and geological challenges. And this is an ongoing process to try and make this a livable area that can be subdivided. So I'm going to vote in favor of the proposed motion. Any other comments? Seeing none, if we're ready to hold the vote, all those in favor? And that passes. Thank you. Our next item is 4.7. It's another frontage waiver, and this is for Lot 6 exemption for the 10% minimum parcel for 13685 Lee Road. Staff, would you like to present?
Thank you, Chair. The purpose of this application is to exempt one lot in an 8-lot subdivision from the minimum 10% highway frontage requirement. Staff have evaluated the request based on the provincial guidance for frontage waivers and recommend approval. Staff are here to answer any questions.
Director McMahon, do you have any questions of clarification?
If Director Lee is in line, I would let him.
Oh, okay, I didn't see. Director Lee, would you like to go first?
This is actually a tough one. It's a very large chunk of property, and it's going to have effectively one access. The second access is known as Scary Hill. It is so steep. I think I would like to refer it to my APC to get some local feedback on it before we make a decision.
So we have a motion. Scribe, did you get that? And we have a seconder for that motion. Do we have any comments or questions either related to that motion or to the report as a whole? Director McMahon.
Yes, I looked this property up on our SCRD mapping system and turned on contour lines. There are a lot of contour lines on this property. And I was trying to visualize how in the world it would be developed. It's not quite a pinnacle, but it's very steep. So I absolutely support the referral to the APC and look forward to their comments.
I see no other requests for speaking. We have a motion that's been seconded. If you're all ready to vote, please raise your hands. All those in favor? And that passes. Thank you very much.
I have one more question.
Oh, okay, we have one more.
Yeah, before staff,
question. If
please,
staff could
I'm sorry.
come
I
back.
just caught up my notes. One of the previous applications mentioned a berm, and I've noticed that a lot of people are building berms lately. I don't know if it's a fad or if we have a large number of drug labs going in around the community, but are these berms liable to be a problem in future for access to utilities? Because we just had this problem in Sechelt with the water lines being buried like 25 feet deep. Is there any concern about building berms on properties?
Would you like to comment, staff?
Through the chair, I guess it's a good question, and I guess it would really depend on like the case. Like if there's a development permit area on a property, you know, berms are something we might capture in our review process in that case. In terms of people doing land alteration on properties where there's not development permits, though, we wouldn't really restrict someone, you know, moving earth on a property that would potentially create a berm. But appreciating, yeah, it sometimes can cause issues with, you know, adjacent utilities and those kind of things.
That help? Oh, Manager Jackson, you have
Thank you,
something
through
to
the
add?
chair. I would just add to that, the one other restriction that we do have in the regional district is if it is on agricultural land reserve properties, then there is restrictions through the agricultural land reserve about bringing fill to properties. But short of that in development permit areas, we don't have any control mechanisms in place on private property. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for this. So I think now we're ready to move on. Okay. Director Bax, you have a follow-up comment?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that there's a concept known as Hugelkultur, which is a berming of the land using plant material and branches and things, and in an instance like a property like mine, where I'm on the highway and I would use the land and land and plants that are in existence to create a berm, it would provide me some sound insulation from the highway noise.
Thank you for that. Now, directors, are we ready to move on to the review of the area minutes? Yes, we're looking good. Okay, thank you very much, staff. So is there any comments or questions? We've received reports for the Electoral Area Advisory Planning Commission meetings minutes, and they're from page 142 through to 162, or from section 4.8 to section 4.12. Director McMahon.
I just had just a note on page 164 in the Area B APC minutes. There was a list of the OCPs, and Elphinstone is missing, and our feelings are hurt.
That shall be corrected. Director Lee.
Thank you, Chair. I was looking at 4.8. If we're looking at the big agenda, it's page 144. There is a mention that local area sections or chapters are an example of how specific policies for each area will be included into our OCP. It mentions that a board decision is required, so I was wondering how that will be. When will that come before us? Is it, am I too early for a question like that, or is there something that further on that?
I'm just going to look to GM Jackson to see if there's a direction on this.
Thank you, Chair. Acting for today. We're anticipating that there'll be some decisions coming forward later this fall as we start to shape up the building blocks of what the new OCP framework can look like following phase 1 engagement. And then the decisions made from that will help to inform what phase 2 engagement will look like. And that can include things like document structure matters as local area chapters. Hope that helps. Thank you.
Do you have a follow-up?
No, that's good. I just wanted to know what to say when I was asked, because it's quite an interesting subject.
Thank you. Director Gabius.
Thank you, Chair. When there are documents, I'm thinking particularly of the background report that we saw last month. Does staff, I know that this was not referred to the APCs formally, but do staff send it to the APC members as for your information, or is there a place where documents are kept, like a reading file for our APC members, so that they can get more educated on the process and have all the background information needed?
Would staff like to address that, acting GM?
Sorry, just to clarify, I think I missed part of the question there.
Yes, thank you, Chair. So when there are documents that are not referred to the APC in regarding the OCP renewal, and thinking of the background report that we saw last month, are these documents sent to the APC in a more informal manner? Is there a way to compile those documents so that the members have access to them and that it's sent to them? Or is it the responsibility of the chair of the APC to do that?
Is that clear?
Yes, thank you. So there is an APC library where we're putting all of the documents on that we feel will be helpful. There's certain things that are in progress and working, so they may not be up, but when they are ready for the public eye, then they'll be put on the APC library. And then matters that are in process that maybe haven't had a decision made on them yet, but might be in a public report, those would be referred through the APC and their official meetings. Thanks.
A follow-up?
Yeah, and when can we expect this library to be online?
Acting GM.
Thank you. It is up and running. There was a bit of a format change recently in terms of how it exists. It was going back to a previous format that seemed to work well. So if anyone's having trouble, they can reach out and we can make sure they can get access. Thanks.
Now, I still have a speakers list, but I'm not sure if it's old or new or what's happening with it. Does there anybody else that would like to speak to this and has not had the opportunity? And I see nobody, so this is an old list. So no more comments, questions about the APC minutes. I'd like to move on to 4.13, which is the Ports Monitor Committee meeting, which is on page 168 for the public. Is there any comments or questions arising from those minutes? And I have 0 speakers on my list. I'll just make a quick comment that this is my favorite committee. I like that it's very operational in nature and it's easy to understand, and everybody's motivated to maintain their structures, and they are also appreciative of the response from staff that issues are being resolved and they have a clear sense of timelines on the bigger projects. So thank you. So on to section 5, we have no new communications, we have no new motions, and we have no new business. And then we are going to move in camera. So I'll just read it out. That the public be excluded from attendance at the meeting in accordance with section 91A and E of the community charter. Personal information about an identifiable individual who holds or is being considered for a position as an officer, employer, agent of municipality, or another position appointed by the municipality, and the acquisition, disposition, or expropriation, of land or improvements. Do I have a seconder? And ready to vote? All in favor? And that passes. We are now closing the meeting to the public. And thank you very much. We're now back in the public portion of the Electoral Areas Services Committee meeting. And I would like to adjourn this meeting. Do I have a motion? It's moved, seconded by Director McMahon. All those in favor? That passes. And is there anybody in the gallery who would like to ask questions? I see a shake of the head from staff. So our meeting is complete. Thank you very much.